Welcome to the Just Call It podcast, everybody. Here, the beautiful Bay Area, as always. Big chillin', as always. Looking here in the beautiful Bay Area right now, I'm staring at the beautiful clouds. It rained yesterday night. Looks really nice right now, staring at everything, looking off into the distance. Still, the Salesforce Tower, all of San Francisco, kind of opened up to the sun, kind of like a glimpse, And San Leandro's looking nice and beautiful. The East Bay is looking nice and beautiful. Just kind of got like this Simpson vibe, where it's just like the clouds are opening up. So it's pretty nice. It's probably almost about to be the afternoon. It's a beautiful day, as always. Got to take in your blessings, man. You really got to focus and center in on what you got. Sometimes you get out of focus and don't even pay attention to what you really have. And you lose appreciation for things. I was able to kind of put myself in a little cocoon for so many months, I've done that a couple times and it's helped me. But this time, it's a little different, Just doesn't feel the same. So as I really try to take in what's going on around me, I really try to count my blessings now and try to focus on what I got. It's truly hard to do that if you don't have the frame of mind to do it. Once you appreciate what you have, it's a different frame of mind, You don't look at just everything the same. You appreciate people's company. You appreciate the people that come around you so often and the people who don't. You learn how to make certain conversations with people and catch up with them, I think that's one of the most beautiful things to recognize is that to count your blessings, to be grateful for what you have, to feel blessed, to actually say, man, I wouldn't feel this way if I wasn't blessed, That's some way to look at it. I had a good time to go out to a haunted house, it was pretty fun out here in the Bay Area, called Fear Overload. It was hilarious, The best part about going there was seeing the Donald Trump artistic kind of like attribute. They had this great artistic painting of Donald Trump. I'm gonna show it here. Boom. And yeah, it was really good. That was hilarious. My family was completely scared as shit. They were crying. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Like I was so excited to go in there. I had my mask on. I was freaking on one, man. And then we start walking in, and they're just crying. Next thing you know, they're calling themselves fat. Who gets scared and calls themselves fat? It's like, I'm fat. I don't know. Oh man, it was kind of funny, You had like crippled people, like they're all acting like they're mutilated and shit, like crawling towards you, and all the strobe lights giving you epilepsy and shit. That was cool. I haven't been scanning in a while, so that was kind of fun. I just feel like when I go there, I tend to get scared and I start laughing. So it's just, they like try to scare me even more, and I just stare them right in the eye, and it's like we're staring at two crazy people at each other. It's like a mirror. I remember I got lost in the maze they had, that they were telling me that, hey man, you can't get out of here. And I just kept standing in front of the exit sign like, no, this is the way. And because I had my mask on, they thought I worked here, so they started flashing a light at me. And I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "It's that way." And the guy was still in his character, so he was like, there was one lady standing behind the curtain telling me, like officially, like, "You can't go here." She was like this, "You can't go here," and she no makeup. She looked more scarier. And the guy was like this, like he was standing behind the front of a door with like an axe that was made out of bones, and he was like, "No, no." Uh, that happened so last week to recently, I guess this weekend, in Ohio, an 11-year-old boy got stabbed to death by a guy in a haunted house. Yeah. So what? Why? Why in the hell would you go into a haunted house and you're a character and use real weapons? I remember this one time where I used to live in the neighborhood called San Ramon. This guy used a chainsaw as one of his props. Like, what happens if he, like, it slipped out of his hand and the chain was like, he's like, "Ah," and then like several kids, he just would chop their heads off or gutted them, right? Hit their larynx. They probably wouldn't survive. I don't know. So anyways, go into a haunted house at your own doom. Your own pending doom. You don't know if some idiot is walking around with a chainsaw or a real prop, and he's trying to stab you. Actually, what happened during to my brother as we were going through the thing, the rat guy, the Rat King, he was dressed as a rat, right? Walking through like the surgeon hall, and I guess all the dead bodies are on the bunk beds. It's like, I don't know if it was called Demon, right? That was the haunted house called Demon. And you start walking through, and there's like, they give you a little flashlight that sucks. They even put like tape over it so you can't see. And then you're like trying to look, right? And you're trying to aim this crappy light, right? And then all of a sudden, like, you're walking through the doors. You get scared, the traditional, "Ah!" right? And then you're walking through, it's like creepy, right? It's like the bunk beds, like there's bodies on it. Like, you don't know if somebody's gonna wake up, right? And then I guess there's the Rat King there. So I think out of all the characters, the rat grew into a real human being, or he was a human being. And then he grew into a rat that was just so ridiculously huge. And since we were a huge group, we're almost kind of split up. So my brother, oh my God, drink some coffee. Here in the Just Call It podcast, we enjoy some coffee. It's delicious. Anyways, the Rat King comes up to my brother and says, like, because we were kind of going ahead a little too, like, we're getting too bunched up with another group. So the Rat King wants to separate us, right? He goes right up to my brother and says, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You don't own this place. I make the rules." That was the best scare tactic in the world, like intimidation. Like, they had all the layers of scare. They had practical scaring, like boo, right? They scare the shit out of you. They had like good props, which was kind of scary, right? Like, you're walking through and noises. And then they had intimidation, where the Rat King would just tell you, "Ah!" and scream at you. I wish I had a photo of that guy. That was great. Shout out to Theo, the Rat King. I think he was probably there. Theo Vaughn. I think he, on his day job, he might go there. On his day job, do a little scaring. Do a little woo! And then maybe a little intimidation to a young little boy, and tell him, "Who the fuck do you think you are? I make the rules. You fucking can't go anywhere." And then he let him go. It was hilarious. It was great. My brother didn't know what to do. He actually did the Matrix and was backing up so far back. It was hilarious the way he described it. It was hilarious. I was so far ahead with my sisters And my wife. It was hilarious. And my brother and his girlfriend were there. It was a good time. It was a good time. My cousin, good time. Hilarious, hilarious. If you want to have a good scare and feel intimidated, go to Fear Overload. That was hilarious, man. It was a good weekend. Got some pizza. Watch Candyman. Candyman's a good movie. I like watching movies with the little kind of history and stuff like that. I like the little Candyman's little justice little call. Little how intertwined with the projects and like people poverty becoming getting killed over nothing, and kind of like all those like calls kind of like lead to ghost of like injustice and kind of like unfair death, where they would probably want to ravage death on their own people or whoever calls out them. So it's kind of like interesting. It's an interesting movie. It's definitely something to watch. I want to watch the first one now. I remember watching glimpses of that movie. It's kind of scary. Oh man, just got a job, so that's cool. I'm happy about that. To go back into the real world. Kind of scared. It's a little scary where you're kind of at home for a while. You don't kind of like do what you used to do, right? Wake up in the morning and kind of get in that battle mode where you got to go to work and get into this zone. Get shit done, and you're trying to be a leader or a go-getter. You're trying to be somebody who's just trying to get by or whatever your tactic may be. Um, and yeah, it puts a little thought into my brain. Thinking about people like myself. If you have that problem where you've been home for a while and you want to get back in the workforce, you got to do it. COVID has displaced a lot of people out of work, um, or made them have to get new jobs. You know, I know a friend that I'm not going to say his name, but just going from making awesome theater sets for a play place, and then all of a sudden to going to doing solar panels. I mean, I know that guy loves his job and had a lot of creation, and I know that it wasn't completely full time or whatever, but because the theater was constantly, putting out plays every year, and every so often, we'll do the same play every year, and he'll be contracted to do it, and I'll go help him and stuff, and then now that's kind of died down because of COVID, and you can't really bring people in, and you can't really, sing instruments or sing out loud or whatever restrictions, California has right now on people. You can't go plays, you can't go to like full restaurants sometimes, even though some are in places in California. It's just so weird. Like once you open the gates, the floodgates to people and to go back to normal, like they're gonna break every rule. So they don't want to like open up everything. They don't want to open up plays. Movie theaters are finally open. Uh, you know, I don't know, just stupid nonsense. People obviously need to get the vaccine, obviously because of hurricanes, like Joe Biden said. You got to get the vaccine, which is the number one prevention of hurricanes. Number one, dude. I always thought hurricanes were made by the government or made by Mother Nature or God. But you know what? It's vaccinations. Certainly it's vaccinations. So you got to get your vaccinations, guys. Got to go get them. Anyways, yeah, I'm vaccinated, so I don't care. I got the Johnson & Johnson blood clot waiting till I die one day. Probably got a pulmonary embolism just building in my heart right now. Knock on wood. That's not true. Man, so many things to worry about as you get more knowledge about problems, right? Like once you're aware that you have depression, you feel more depressed, or once you're aware that you have a problem, you feel more that you're lean towards that problem more and more. Whether you have addiction or something like that, it's always like a curse on you. Check this out. right? It's like always like a curse. You know, once you get like once you start telling the doctors you have those problems, you know, they really start getting you. You know, they really start like going after you and finding out what's wrong. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, I'm looking forward to Halloween. You know, that's gonna be awesome. You know, Halloween is a great. I've never been a fan of Halloween. You know, my wife has always been someone who loves Halloween to the bone. You know, she loves October, pumpkin patches, scary movies, haunted houses. Uh, you know, pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkins at the window, pumpkin pie. She likes everything pumpkin, and I don't like it. You know, I don't like pumpkin pie. I don't like pumpkin spice lattes. You know, I like being scared, but I don't believe in it because I know that it's just somebody trying to scare me. It's never really, truly ever a ghost. You know, it's never a ghost trying to scare me on Halloween. It's always just some asshole behind a mask. You know, you guys ever think about that? Like, I want to go pay someone to scare me professionally. You know I can have somebody like try to scare me. Like, how about this? All this October, I challenge anybody who's listening to this podcast to scare me. If you can scare me, I give you a prize. I swear to God, I give you a prize. And we can talk about it. The prize, $100. You want a gift card to Ross? You know, you want a gift card to Rigatoni's? You know, you wanna go get a couple Big Macs? I'll get you that gift card. You know, I'll cash app you. But if you can scare me, I'm from the Bay Area, man. Okay, if you can scare me, I'll give you some money. All right, you see my face? Just kidding. All right, if you can scare me, anybody listening to this podcast most likely is my mom or my wife. So if you can scare me, I'm gonna give you some money. This whole month, October 1st, starting today, which is September 27th, I think, all the way till October 31st, you can scare me. If you can scare me, I'll give you some money. All right? And that's multiple scares, not just one person. Anybody who scares me, I'll give you some money. I mean, you gotta make me like scared as fuck. Like I gotta be like, ah, you know, scared. Not no like, oh, you got me. Nah, I'm not gonna give you no money if you don't scare me. I'm not gonna I don't give a shit. You gotta scare me officially. Drink to that. But I'm excited. You know, I want to go to more scary haunted houses. You know, I think the most scariest haunted house I've ever been to, you know, me and my friends, I was a little rascal, you know, back in the day. Little chummy chum. Little buddy. Little badass Latina. Lino. I can call myself a Latino. I'm a Latino. Okay. Hispanic man. Nicaraguan. Not born there, but blood. Went down there. We were hiking, all right? Hiking there in the lonely hills of the Tri Valley, there in Livermore. And there's just a lot of hills over there, a lot of land, you know, just a lot of emptiness, just a lot of hay, you know, just a lot of nothing, right? And we're hiking deep in there, right? And there's a couple of abandoned homes, right? Well, there's one in particular that you kind of see on the hike all the time. And we were like, hey guys, let's go in there. And me, I'm not a fan of that, but I am a fan of a good time. Especially when you're a little buzzed, right? So we're drinking maybe some schnapps, some vodka, or something like that. Hiking, a couple of poets, athletes, you know. musicians, just kind of somber in the sun and light, in the moonlight. Actually, it was pretty late. It was actually kind of like 12 o'clock at night. We're all drunk. So, anyways, we're drunk driving. We go hiking. It's horrible. Um, we go hiking, and it's a long hike. But anyways, we challenge ourselves to go to the house, and that was the intention, to hike out, to go drive out there, go to the house, and get in. Well, you can't just walk up to an abandoned house. The door's not open, right? So how the hell do you get in? So my buddy, who was once on the podcast interview, Lloydie, he found a place, and of course, he would find it under a bathroom, a little hole under the bathroom of the house, because most houses back in the day were on stilts, which still are to this day, but most of the time you can kind of dig underneath and kind of walk almost underneath the house and kind of creep underneath the floorboard if there's a hole, right? Long story short, we got it. Crept underneath the bathroom. We're walking through. And I have to say, that's probably the most scariest thing, because the house wasn't big. I mean, and the rooms were completely smaller. I mean, the biggest room was probably could fit a twin bed. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a big room. And there's probably two of those rooms, the kitchen and a big-ass living room. That's it. And a fireplace. And a bathroom. Okay, and the bathroom didn't, like, lead into, like, plumbing. The bathroom led into, like, a well, you know? An old-ass house. And that's probably where I about got the most creeped out, because we're there, sitting there, hanging out, having a good time, drinking, and the only light is in there is a flashlight. I mean, we don't got anything else. And it's a small ass house, and you don't know what's happened there. I mean, long story short, I mean, I heard a story, my wife telling me that a long house she used to live in, a murder happened there. You know, a family. I mean, you just don't know what happens in a house when you buy it nowadays, because, you know, if it's an old house, you know, so many people have lived in that house. You know, so many souls. You know, you don't know what they're connected to, what they've done. You know, if they believe in, like, Santeria or something. You know, that's weird. You know, people put curses on people and shit. You know? And and those people wholeheartedly believe in their curses. Like, damn, man. Don't you got a life? You're like Scooby-Doo's villain. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. So yeah, man, it's kind of strange out there nowadays. A lot of people fucking around. I think the best joke I've heard lately was from Mark Norman. Rest in peace. Lately, rest in peace to Mark Norman. He died recently. Just an awesome comedian. I totally recommend. I've heard it from other comedians before. I mean, after I've already did this, go through a huge YouTube tunnel of Mark Norman. You just go and watch his stuff, man. He has some of the best comedy of all time. Like, if you like Mark Norman, I love Mark Norman. You know, Bill Burr and Verzi were talking about that on their podcast. That's a good podcast. Been listening to that recently. And otherwise, this is a really good podcast too. Fuck. You know, it's true. You know, if you listen to Mark Norman, you know, it's kind of like this thing. Like, if you listen to Mark Norman, we get along. You know, I like Mark Norman. He was a great comedian. He's based on Saturday Night Live. He's been on tons of appearances on Dave Letterman. Wouldn't be surprised if he was on Jay Leno. And he was just funny. You know, he's just tons of movies too. Dumb and Dumber, I think he was in. He's just good movies. Kind of, you know, comes in and just does this great comedy. And a good joke I heard from him is that The moth joke is a great joke. That if you want to research that on YouTube, it's a great joke. I'll probably put the link on. That's a great fucking joke to listen to. But one of the best jokes I think to listen to is like one way to tell if your dog is really, really high on drugs is if he makes a really tall sandwich. I just think that's hilarious. That's just a classic joke. You Scooby Doo, and it's funny. It's so true, and it's like imagine that, right? But it just so fucking hits the bone of just hilariousness, uh, and so cut and dry. It's so true. Another guy to listen to, go down a huge YouTube hole, which I think he has way more material to listen to than Mark Norman, is Rodney Dangerfield. If you like quick one-liners, man, he is fucking hilarious. One of my favorite jokes from him is, my dad. My dad's a workaholic, man. You start talking about work, he gets drunk. That's a classic joke. That is a motherfucking classic joke. Bad dad, whatever, materials. He has tons of wife jokes, doctor jokes, Vinny Boom Bots, you know, just good stuff, man. There's so many things to listen to. Being in my little cocoon, I really got to laugh with myself, got to hate myself, love myself again, and do a lot of things that, I see potential in my future. And there's always ruts and problems and bumps in the road, man. And just like Bob Marley says, uh, even though the road is rocky, it sure feels good to me. And that's God on Truth. That's a song from Rainbow Country he does, Bob Marley. Even though the road feels rocky, it sure feels good to me. I've always listened to that song. That song reminds me of my grandfather, rest in peace. Um, After the day I learned that he passed away, that was one of the songs I listened to, driving back from the hospital. And it just brought me to tears, and listening to that, and it's so true, listening to the words, even though the road is bumpy, it sure feels good to me, and you got to think of it that way, that even though the life is tough, and if you have a good life now, you might have a bad life in the future. Even though you might have a good life now, and you bring some kids into your life, and they might have a bad life, you feel bad for them. Uh, an elderly person, lonely, you might feel bad for them. And you look at their life and you might think that what happened, or something like that. And truly, that's not the case. You have to be happy with yourself and enjoy the people who come into your life. Even though the road is bumpy, it sure feels good to me that I get to live my life in this way and do what's necessary for what's necessary for myself and my family. Um, be thankful for if you have family. Be thankful for your friends, your ambitions. Hold on to the things that make you feel so true in life, that make you feel who you are. If it's going out and getting a good drink with your friends, or staying home and watching a good movie, or just having a bottle of wine to yourself or something, or a glass, or having dinner with your family, going out to a haunted house together. Those things are beautiful to do. Invite someone to go out, pay for the bill. Work hard and, keep doing what it is that you're doing in your life that you feel positive about. Stay away, obviously, from the negatives, but hang in there, right? And all things will turn out good, even though we got a lot of shit going on in the world that's fucking us around. Don't think about just staying in one place. Think about moving. I'm thinking about getting dual citizenship soon myself. I want to get ready to get the fuck out of here if I got to, It's You gotta expand your mind. Invisible borders. You know, invest into currency that's new. Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. Stock market. Your company's 401k if you never did it. Get a direct deposit if you never did it. It makes your life easier. Start small and go big. That's a good quote. Start small and go big, right? Even though the road is bumpy, it sure feels good to me. Damn straight. So the Just Call It podcast, thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a great Monday. Take care.